I'm John Holden. I'm here from City University in Demos, as well as other places, and this is my first slide. When you say the words the arts and culture to most people, this is what they think of. The high arts, a canon of art forms, each with its own hierarchy, where we have clearly know what we're talking about, generally enjoyed by people who are very well educated and better off than the rest of us. An elite form of art. This, by contrast, is popular culture, the X factor. This is lowbrow. So we've got a distinction going on here between the high and the low, the refined and the debased, and the good and the bad. This sets up a real problem, a real deep philosophical problem, as the next slide will show you, that you cannot be both high and low at the same time. So popular culture has to inhabit one sphere while high culture has to inhabit the other. You can aspire to enjoy high culture, but if everybody enjoyed high culture, it would no longer be high culture, it would be popular culture. So this sets up a real intellectual difficulty. And the problem is, of course, if you have popular culture, the high arts then become, by definition, unpopular culture, with nobody going to the theatre, or only one man in this case. Fortunately, we have to move on from this binary idea of what culture is, the high and the low. We have to move on to a better idea that does not pit the arts against the rest of culture. Why? Jimi Hendrix. In 1960, Jimi Hendrix proved that popular culture had quality. He gave the most meaningful account of the Vietnam War in an artistic form. It wasn't literature, it wasn't film, it was Hendrix on the stage of Woodstock. So that's one reason why we've got to abandon it. The other reason is this, the internet. The internet has completely changed the rules of the game for the arts and culture, because it's enabling people to produce, to cooperate, to communicate, to collaborate, and to monetize what they do. And it's encouraging, along with other kinds of technology like better musical instruments, cheap camcorders and so on, it's encouraging people to do things for themselves. So now we don't have that binary of high and low culture. We have these three things intermingling: publicly funded culture, commercial culture, and homemade culture. Why does this matter? This really matters because it changes the life of everybody in the world, and it changes the whole attitude of policy. Because if you put these three things together, under the old model, this kind of thing, orchestras, opera, and so forth, could be dismissed by policymakers and by people who spent money as a mere elite occupation of interest to very, very few voters and very, very few people. This kind of thing, the commercial entertainment, could be dismissed as exactly that, mere entertainment. Something you did in your leisure hours after the hard work of the day was done and the serious business had been taken care of. So this too was marginalised. And also marginalised was the third area of amateur culture, homemade culture, which was hopelessly amateur and could be condemned out of hand because it really wasn't worth paying for a ticket to go and see it. However, if you put all these three things together, what do you have? You have what the guy on the next slide, Jordi Martí, the head of culture in Barcelona, calls the second ecosystem of humankind. This is a world in which we are all taking place the whole time. We are all reading, listening, watching, dancing, singing. And this is immensely important because it puts culture, and hence the arts as part of culture, at the heart of a wide range of policy issues. It also is very challenging. It's challenging the business models of all kinds of organisations, in publishing, in newspapers, in the music industry. It's kind of destroying what that commercial sphere was. It's also changing life in the publicly funded arts as well, because organisations are now having to change to meet the needs of the public in this new kind of cultural world that we are in. Which begs the question of what is it that the public and audiences, as we used to call them. I have a friend in TV who says there's a block of people who are the people who we used to refer to as the audience. What do they want? They want what my Demos colleague Charlie Leadbeater calls enjoy, talk and do. Sometimes they want to sit there watching something, sometimes they want to socialise and learn around the experience, sometimes when they get their hands dirty, make it themselves, do it themselves. This is meaning that arts organisations all across the country are changing. And in the words of Michael Boyd, the artistic director of the Royal Shakespeare Company, he says the time might be right for the theatre to offer a better, more honest, more intimate relationship and to bring the audience, the people in the seats, into the ensemble of the actors themselves. So we're now thinking of the audience as creators, collaborators, friends, and you're seeing all sorts of people from Corner House to Stratford East doing that. This is a very, very hopeful message. Radical changes for us, of course, but potentially far more interest on the part of the public and eventually on the part of politicians. Now, the politicians really haven't caught up with these developments yet. These guilty men do not know that culture is incredibly important across the economy, across foreign relations, across education, across local government, and so on, and so on, and so forth. It's interesting, actually, that the biggest news story of the last decade since 9/11 has been dealt with by the DCMS. So, this is Cutts 14th century style. This is a fresco in Siena by Lorenzetti which shows you what bad government looks like. A wasteland when we get rid of everything. But he also, thank goodness, painted a picture of good government. And this is what good government looks like. This is a green eco-town where singing and dancing, as you can see, are a very important part of civic and public life. They are a reflection of a place that is well governed. And this is what we need to bring back into our public life today. Singing, dancing, and greenery. And I leave you with this image of a kind of art which is by the people, for the people. Special and magical, but something which is an everyday event, and in that sense, ordinary. Something that we can all be part of. Thank you very much.